So I just don't want to lean forward and dull you out.
Sorry, you dull me out.
Explain to me again what these are.
They're cones, and they go in the kiln to confirm the temperature is...
That's it, it's to confirm temperature. And am I right in thinking different cones are like rated to different temperatures?
Yeah,
so
all the different levels, yeah. I mean, like before pyrometers, they would have used them, a material that basically they could look in a spy hole and check if the thing had melted, and that would tell them that it was time to take it out of the oven.
It's cool that.
So you actually, that's not a post thing, you watch that while it's happening?
I would have, when I was doing my training and we had like wood-fired kilns and gas kilns, you would have had to check and double check. I don't do that with my electric kiln, but I do put it in from time to double check that the temperature is where it should be. Right.
And what are they? Are they different materials or different thickness? Like, how does each of them...
I guess it's what they're made from. I don't know that level of detail. But
they're just made of science and magic.
Pyrometric cones, they must be, because they'd be different bits of clay and materials that melt at X. But, like science, modern science, you can imagine people using these things and going, that'll tell me my pot's done. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like little rings you sometimes see.
And how did they get the original...
How did they find out?
Bearing that was that temperature? Or was it? What? Was it just like, I know my pots are done when that one melts. I don't actually care what temperature it is, right? Like,
well, that's it. You don't actually after a while. It's depending on the kilns you're firing. So I don't have a wood-fired kiln here, but when I was back in Ireland, you would have definitely kind of been watching the cones, and also when they go out, it's really, really boring.
It's not boring.
But there's a whole science about like kind of watching the cones and making sure the cones are at the right. I became a little bit obsessed, which is kind of part of my story about obsession, about like, it was, there's numbers as well, cone 8, cone 9, cone 10. So I was like, I remember I had a glaze that was like just between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
It was just getting really fussy. Like,
yeah. I can see why you would be obsessed over that.
You would become really obsessed, yeah.
So you would actually talk about the temperature as a cone 8 or a cone 9 or a cone 10 temperature?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, because you've got an electronic device on the kiln which says it's at 1200 degrees, but is it a cone 6 or a cone 7, or it's, that's kind of how I would be thinking. Although, as soon as all this is in my head, like when I actually try to speak about it, I will probably just forget words and...
You're like, I just do the things.
I just do it now. It's become a little bit like second nature, but some of the stuff is... Try to explain it. But I do explain it when I teach, but not that side of it. That side of it.
It's interesting how that happens though, isn't it? Because you get so proficient at something that you actually end up worse at explaining it.
Oh God, yeah.
We've got a talk 1st of May. We're going down. We've been invited to an independent publishing magazine event to talk to a bunch of people that are, doing independent magazines and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we probably know the answer to all the questions, but is someone going to ask a question and we're going to be like, words?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain this. This is just a thing that happens. Yeah. I'm now going to sound like I've got no idea because...
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, my original life was as a musician. And I had a violin teacher who was the leader of the RT Symphony Orchestra, which is like the BBC Symphony Orchestra. That proficient, but he wasn't a great teacher.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
He would just say things like, no, you just do this. And you go,
but what is that?
What is that? Yeah. Break that down a little bit. But
what is that thing you've taught yourself for tens of years, like decades? That's
and then it becomes,
to
And Jeremy, my husband, says the exact same thing to me when I'm talking in terms of music. Like he goes, no, you'll need to break it down for me because that's not how I think, and I'll skip past stuff and just assume knowledge.
It's interesting because quite a few makers we spoke to were like, oh, would you not like to teach that? And they're like, yeah, but I just don't know how good I would be at teaching because I just know all, like, how do I process that and actually teach someone? Oh, that is a skill,
It is a skill, yeah. I mean, I was a teacher at one point in my life. I was a secondary school music teacher. But having to teach, so I know what bad teaching is like. So having to teach music, and I teach pottery as well. So you just I do what I say, not what I do. Like, so when I would be demoing, I'd throw something, and it's not necessarily the way I do it when I'm making myself, because I have to. You almost take this fluidness out of it, because you're going this and this and this, and it becomes quite. It's just like, you're just doing that.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So and also to somebody who's got no frame of reference, you have to build a frame of reference for them so that they know, all the lingo. But that, it is, you have to turn on a completely different part of your brain to teach. And some people are very good at it.
Yeah, and just like, oh, you're a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. I've had a few really good
They always
teachers.
stick in your mind, like
they
the
do.
really good ones.
They do. The ones that you went, okay, right, and you've held on to the knowledge because of the way they said it. Yeah, it's amazing.
I think that's the big difference, isn't it? The good teachers tend to they're not necessarily saying anything different, by the context is different, and the way you hold on to it's very different.
Absolutely, yeah. Or able to just create a picture, or something that you can hold on. Yeah, because some of it, certainly with pottery, like it's, I remember when I was in Thomastown, the first just like information, so much information. And being able to get a hook into it is really difficult. Silica, so like, I know how hard it is. So yeah, I definitely kind of my empathy for people who are trying to learn. It's a lot of information.
Yes, it is.
So where did your journey start? Did it start with teaching, or your journey started with music, didn't it?
Music.
Early on with music. Was that your first like creative outlet?
6. Art, I've always been doing art alongside music, but I would have been like from the age of 6 studying music. I went all the way with it. I did it at university. I went to the Royal Irish Academy of Music, played in bands, very seriously classical violinist, and viola and piano. So yeah, it was really, but I think I don't know, if you do something for so long, you actually stop questioning it, and I wasn't getting joy from it. I did get the odd bit of joy when I was in a band. Like we were, you'd be playing a gig and you'd suddenly go into a sort of a riff or a bit of improvisation, and that was like absolutely just feed your soul stuff. And you'd be high on it, like it was so incredible. But there's a lot of graft again, just playing in Irish pubs, playing Danny Boy for the millionth time, or busking, or playing songs over and over again, and also other people's songs as well. They're not necessarily my songs. So I think at a certain point, again, teaching it, it was really exciting at one point, having those kids who like maybe were just like absolutely blown away by learning, Don't Look Back in Anger or something on the guitar. But yeah, I kind of hit a point where I was like, I'm not getting what I need out of this. And there's you just keep doing something because you're good at it, or do you kind of go, right, okay. And I also needed to earn a living as well. It was very, very hard. So yeah, I kind of left music and that sort of the creative life, and that was kind of ticking in the background. I've never stopped playing. I always played with the Scottish Symphony in Edinburgh, and played sort of informally with my husband, who plays the cello, and
it's good to keep the skills, keep going,
playing, and go back to Ireland. I picked up with the guys I used to make a band with.
Do you enjoy it more now that it's not the only thing you're doing?
Oh God, yeah. Now it's a treat,
right?
Now I want to kind of, but it was first years. It was like, do your practice.
It's your life for a long time.
That's it. Yeah. So stop being fun. But then I did art to leave our sort of A level, leaving cert as well. But I guess art wasn't really a career. At least you can, what are you going to do with that? So at least I did English and music. So at least with music, I could always become a teacher, which I did. But it wasn't until my dad died. That was 2010, Jesus, that I kind of found myself really going back to art to deal with it. And And I was looking for, just trying to express something. I don't know. That's how I processed it. And
this wasn't ceramics at the time. This was just going back
just
to art.
Everything, like screen printing,
Umbrella
painting,
principle. What is
absolutely
it? Yeah.
everything. And just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I mean, like, I can look back on it now and I can kind of go, yes, I was probably trying to process my grief. At the time it was, it was a messy time. But anyway, I did one of those evening courses in Edinburgh Council, pottery. And I mean, my brain is just, I'm very busy mind. And it was the first time, like, and I got that when you'd be drawing, I got just total, I'm in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying this. And so I did another course. And then I got into this, friend of mine told me about this pottery users group, which was, again, in a council building, but like an open studio. So you got to go along on a Friday and a Monday morning or whatever time it was, and you could make, and I got to learn from the other makers, the other potters, and they're like such generous people anyway, and like Scottish potters, the salt of the earth. And, but it wasn't enough again. Like, if you try to learn about the technical side of pottery, you don't really get taught that in evening courses. You get, here's a bit of clay, go make something, and then we'll fire it for you, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
So, but I wanted, like, the music, I want to know how everything works. So, and at this stage, Edinburgh, they were closing down ceramics departments in the universities, and people were, I mean, it was really, really sad, but these departments are getting shut down. I suppose because there's a lot involved, it's much easier maybe to teach painting when there's, there's not all that technical kilns, clay, etc. So I was searching about, as we were chatting earlier, I didn't know Florian Gadsby, but I was listening to an interview with a few people, and they were talking about how they'd, something like this perhaps, how they'd started. And he mentioned how he went to Ireland, which is like, I'm Irish. I never heard about this place in Thomastown, so what's going on here? And then I sent him an email, this was about 2016, and he was very kind, came back. I think he was just heading off to Japan to do that residency over there. And he said, I went, Thomastown, this is how it is. So I looked it up, Design and Craft Council of Ireland run it. And it's a 2-year course, full-time, and like, I mean full-time, like 9 to 5 every day. Not university months. Like, was September through to July, really intensive. And they take on 12 people every 2 years. So there's a jewellery course that runs kind of they have the jewellery courses year 1, you'd be year 2 in the ceramics. And 12 people. And so, I mean, I had no...
Is that all they do? Jewellery, ceramics?
Jewellery and ceramics. They have the two schools, basically. The ceramics course was out in a 18th century mill on the River Nore. And so I had no intention of doing this. I was like, this is insane. Why on earth would I change? I mean, I'm obviously from Ireland, but like going back to Ireland after living in the UK and Scotland for so long.
And when did you move over originally from Ireland?
Oh, 90s. So I've been here a long time.
So it really was going back.
Really going back.
Yeah.
And so my husband was really encouraging, and he was like, what have you got to lose? And I guess there's that thing in your head, life is short.
So true,
It's really short. Yeah. So we went back on remember that storm, that crazy storm, the Beast from the East year. And again, it was like, there was all these things saying don't go because the roads were really bad. And I was like, well, I don't want to go all the way down to Kilkenny and leave Dublin. And but anyway, we did. And I tell you what, I walked into this place, and for somebody who likes pottery, it had every kiln imaginable. Like, it had gas fired, and it had electric kilns, and had little things called rocket kilns, and it had wood fired kilns and salt kilns. And then it said these like 2 floors, 6 students on each floor. It was like 4 and 8 students, and all working away on their wheels. And I'm like, okay. So the guy who set it up was a guy called Gus Mabelson. So he kind of showed me around, and I was still thinking, come on, like, what will this involve? But it was like magic. It was the place to be. If I wanted to learn I would learn everything there, because they teach you production throwing. So,
Right.
how to throw hundreds of mugs. They also taught us, how to put glazes together from raw materials.
Right.
And then how to fire different kilns. So I applied, I said a lot of people have applied for it, and you had to go and do an interview, and then you had to do a skills day, which was like, I thought I knew a bit, but I didn't have a clue. I mean, there were people who went for it who like worked in potteries, and people who were really, really good. But anyway, they saw something, so I got on into the course.
Nice.
And then went over in 2018 and did the 2 years. Bit of COVID in the middle. But it was like the first year was really intense. It was just about the skills, and it was about the discipline, and it was about learning, which is what I wanted, because as a musician, that's what I had, and that's the way I understand. I learn something very well, and then I can actually. I've got the capability to improvise and do
your
something.
Only pottery at that time as well was just the council run
Self-taught,
classes, self-taught.
yeah.
So this was your first real foray into like pottery education, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. Because you don't get. I played around myself, but I just knew nothing, and done lots of throwing on my own. But again, I had no idea. And then the guys who teach you, like their master potters, like Jeff Healy and Karen Morgan, they were amazing teachers, and but really quite tough. Like it wasn't an easy. That first year was heartbreaking at times, because stuff that I would have been absolutely thrilled with, but they'd be like, that if you ever watch the Pottery Throwdown where they kind of go, not. Well, that was every day. You'd be like, but that was really good. Wasn't really good. But that was the kind of style. It was quite old school approach to teaching. And then
you have to be quite tough, maybe.
It did toughen you up. And I was like, but I want to play. I want to be expressive. I want to do this. So,
no, you have to try this.
You have to do this 100 million times first. But I was definitely still kind of, there were certain glazes, the colours that I wanted to, and I would go down rabbit holes. I wanted to do very kind of earthy colours, which I remember, I think Jeff saying to me, would you not want to do some colourful things, like, something that might sell? And I'd be like, no, but I wanted to look like the earth, or I wanted to look like this stone, or this piece of rust. But so by second year, though, we were given a bit more of the leash was loosened, and we were kind of encouraged then to sort of explore. And I went down a very big rabbit hole to get this colour blue. So I was painting as well, like watercolour paintings. And I had this, when you mix up a colour that is just the right colour. I'm going to sound like a mad obsessive person here, but it was a very specific blue.
The last 75 podcasts have been mad obsessive people about their craft, so it's fine. This is what we do.
This is what you do. Okay, right, fine. So I went down a very long rabbit hole about the blue, and I guess that's how I learn. I learn by doing. Yeah. And when you're making a glaze and you're trying to get a colour or a texture or a surface finish, there's all chemistry there, which is not my strong point, but you start to understand what certain materials bring to the party. And if you put two colours together, it's like mixing it up on a watercolour thing. You start getting different colours, you're getting different textures. So anyway, I found my blue. And
if I'm right in saying as well, having spoke to JR Cooper out in Atlanta, it's the tiniest change might not look that different until you've done all the glazing bit, right? And then it can change it completely.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's only after, so there's like so many levels. I could show you, like I've got a test tile over there, which has the sort of, you throw the pot first, and then you make this thing called the glaze, and the glaze goes on the pot, and then the glaze goes and interacts with the kiln. So it could be interacting with a gas kiln, or I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if you're glazing over yet.
No, I am so locked in.
You just sort of see people going. My own family will be like, Oh, that's really interesting. No, it's not.
No,
Stop talking about it.
This ticks all the boxes for me,
learn,
please.
we learn. Yeah.
Let's go down the rabbit hole together.
Okay. So yeah, again, depending on the atmosphere, you get different reactions, oxygen, things being pulled out chemically from different parts of the glaze, and yeah. You will, I said it was really minuscule, like 0.01 grams of something could make a difference to get me that tone that I wanted.
Wooden gas-fired kilns, they can also make a difference to what happens to the glaze.
Absolutely, yeah. No, so that's a reduction environment. So that actually sort of, getting technical now, but the environment extracts things from the glaze. And then electric is, I suppose you could say it's a little bit more stable. So you can get things that are much more reproducible, perhaps in electric. Although, like the best wood-fired kiln, people would be like they could get what they wanted because they could drive the kilns so well. And I've seen people who they know the flame, they know how it works. But yeah, so it was great to have. We had a material lab with every material you could imagine under the sun, and I was able to try nuanced, detailed testing, and that's something they taught us as well, was how to test. So, how to create a line of glazes, one with milling detail differences all the way along, and then you go, that's the blue. But it didn't take, it was much longer than that. A much longer journey of me going,
that might be the blue.
Try again.
There's one other maker that, when you talk about colour, and I totally get the colour thing. We were talking about him just this morning, Cornish Woodsmith. He's a wood carver, beautiful stuff like bowls, tableware and all that stuff. But he uses a very exact blue. That whenever you see a picture on the internet, you know that's his, you just know it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely really cool.
Yeah. It's like a trademark colour.
Yeah. That's what you want. I mean, there was because in the paintings, the colour was arrived at by mixing lots and lots, so you kind of get a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of that, and then you get that, because I was after this kind of East Coast blue, this sort of grey blue, and anyway, I did get it. The end of the story. Happy ending. I did get the blue, and that was kind of the first sort of gallery commission, was to provide like these pieces.
Right.
And then sort of on the other half, kind of coming into the end of the course.
So you were still doing all that testing and getting the gallery pieces as part of the course.
Yeah, they brought a gallery owner in to visit us, a woman in a gallery called Blue Egg Gallery, and she came in to kind of like a customer would, I suppose.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And went around and had a look at our stuff and went, oh, I quite like that. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'll have 5 of them. I'll have that.
Right.
So we got our order, for
so
this
they were
gallery.
teaching you the business side of it as well as just the making.
Exactly, yeah. So just learning that this is what happens. And so... then on the other side of that, we had a project with the National Museum of Ireland. And then this is kind of where I really started to kind of come into my own.
Right.
Because I definitely had very strong opinions about what I wanted to do and what I wanted my things to look like, which again would potentially be sort of slightly battling with the tutors. Going, would you not want to do something a nice colour over here? It's much easier. So yeah, I was starting to get that kind of, now I was feeling confident with the materials, but I actually now wanted to be expressive, and I wanted to make Jennifer things, not just generic stuff.
Is that the point that you became Jennifer Alford Ceramics? Like that stamp?
I think at that time I actually changed I did have an Instagram, because after Florian wrote back to me, I wrote, I'm now setting up an Instagram account. But yeah, I had this like ridiculous named Instagram account, and then I actually changed it to Jennifer Alford Ceramics at that point. So yeah, I was no longer sort of embarrassed about my stuff. I was feeling kind of like
That's a cool stage to be at. That's like a pretty big demarcation in time of that's what it is. Yeah,
I'm here. But I mean, the thing about it is though, I was surrounded by all amazing potters. So, 11 other potters and you're just like, to have the confidence, I think, is quite hard, certainly in that environment. And it was only, I think, during COVID, because we actually all got sent home for COVID. And this was in the middle of a project with the National Museum of Ireland to come up with a piece of work that would respond to a piece of work in part of the collection.
Right.
And Irish, I wanted to do something, wanted to respond to something Irish. And that was the other cool thing about being back in Ireland. Actually, I reconnected with Ireland, and I really got my love of Ireland back, and really proud, because the country had phenomenally changed since I left it. It was a much more open society, and the church was no longer in charge.
Yeah.
So really, my love of Ireland sort of returned, and then some. And then getting to make a piece of work for the National Museum of Ireland was amazing. And it was an exhibition, and again, I decided to do something that the tutors were just like, "What are you trying? What are you doing?" And I wanted to hand build again. I'm on a throwing course. I've decided I want to make something with porcelain, hand build with porcelain. Which, if you use porcelain, it's not a material you definitely want to hand build with. Okay. It's lots of cracks.
Yeah, I want to challenge myself here.
I want to challenge myself, but it wasn't even that. I needed to do that.
Yeah, okay.
So it was like, that was what I wanted to do. And then back in Edinburgh, I no clay, so it all went onto the page, and something happened then, a little bit of kind of freeing and a sort of being able to let loose, and that's kind of where I get the satisfaction from, is this kind of some people call it a sense of flow, where you're just doing, or you're just flow drawing state, or you're making, and nothing's stopping you, nothing's in your way. And I started coming up with these drawings that were quite expressive, is one way to, I have it tattooed on my arm now. So that I made this piece, and I think that was it. That was my kind of right now I'm Jennifer Alford.
Right, okay.
I call myself Jennifer Alford, artist potter. There's a kind of, I'm a potter, and I feel like there's a dual thing there. Yep. So that was it. And then I graduated, and the museum actually acquired that piece. They wanted it in their collection, which was pretty cool. And I think that gave me confidence, because I think, other than that, you're just looking at everybody else and going, but they're amazing, and to be able to kind of put yourself out and to go, I'm not just in my own head having, making things that I like, but actually maybe somebody else likes it, is a big deal. I think, because we're all, insecure people. You're never quite sure.
I think the best makers are somewhere, whether they portray they are or not. There is a level of even us publishing an independent magazine, there is a level of insecurity that makes you make it better, right?
Yeah,
and that's,
I guess so.
That's what there always is.
Yeah.
There'll be that same level of insecurity with everybody, because I think at some point, if you don't have it, you're never going to continually improve, are you?
No. Well, that's it. I finished. No, that's me. I've done it. Yeah. I think it's a rod for your back though as well. And I know I would love to just go, right, that's it. I know what I'm making, but I can't. I have to. I'm always looking to kind of move it on, or to try something different, it's just iterative as well. It's not going back to the drawing board all the time, but there's definitely a kind of a line as the work is developing. But again, I'm very much still at the emerging maker stage of my career. I realise I have a long road ahead of me, but
exciting one though.
Exactly, yeah. It's a road I actually want to be on.
Right.
So
and
I'm not bored by it at all. And the materials are constantly they give you that. You get something different out of something, or you try something new, or you put two things together and you go, oh, that's quite cool. I actually like that.
And do you think you're the kind of maker that will always search for that, or are you looking for a style to settle down on?
Oh no, I think now my style is, if you look closely, you should be able to see that there is a sort of a style, but it's but I go between the porcelain work, which is almost like a canvas for me. It's white, beautiful, sort of, it's like the piece of paper, and I can put a mark on that. Right. And it's usually, it'll be some kind of abstract marking, but it'll come from that sort of place of flow. And on the other side, I've got the kind of the wilder, the earthier colours, which again have the mark. And again, it's that kind of, it's quite an instinctive mark. So they do communicate together. I've definitely moved on from the stuff I was doing at college, but the piece from the museum, no, that has actually, I think that the mark has retained. That's the one thing that I've really retained. The forms change.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of pottery, is that you can make any shape that you want, and you can try and see which work and so the form, I think, will always be evolving, but what I put on it, surface, I mean, there's my rusty colours, earthy, those kind of tones, and then
there's an identity there that you want to keep in.
I think so. I hope so, but it's never. I don't think it's ever going to stop, though. I can't imagine.
That's what keeps it interesting, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to sell loads to shops. I'm not wanting to. You no longer will get a piece of my work that is like the same as other pieces. I'm now actively making individual pieces.
Cool.
And I think wouldn't have had the confidence before doing Thomastown to do that. And I think that's, again, going back to the music. You can't really improvise unless you've got the technical skills behind you. And now I feel confident enough to improvise with form, and I'm not doing it because that's the only shape I can make. I'm actually being able to kind of confidently just like go with it and explore.
It's a cool place to be.
It's pretty. It's very exciting at the moment, I have to say. Yeah, I mean, come back in 5 years and I'll be
Do it again. Yeah.
So you said.
So having all, like, you're liking it back to the music there, having all those technical skills and being super proficient technically, is that what really allows you to just kind of throw them all out the window and be like, I'm going to do that? Do you think if you never had those technical skills, you'd be as confident throwing them out the window?
No, I mean, I look back at some of the stuff I was making when I was in that pottery users group. I mean, you could see I was trying to do stuff, but the stuff was really kind of heavy and clunky. And, you know, some of those pieces I do stand by. I still have them, and I still have them in my studio, and I still like to look at them and I go, oh, that's a nice little idea you were trying there. And even stuff early on on the course, I have a few pieces from first year where I was like, oh no, I like that. I like where I was going with that. But I personally wouldn't be able to. I think it is because of my musical background. I think I need to know that I've got a really strong technical background to kind of stand behind. And then again, your improvisation could be really going down a music rabbit hole, but someone like Miles Davis, and I'm not comparing myself to Miles Davis, but he could play a single note, which seems like a really simple melody over a piece, and it's like, oh my god, but it's just perfect. But it's really simple, and you could give a kid with a violin at 6 who could just go play that single note, but there's a difference. There's obviously an intention behind his use of that note, and there's years of experience, and he brings a kind of an artistic, sentiment to it. The child is just playing a note because that's the only note they can play, maybe. So yeah, I definitely do hold technical skills quite high. Yeah. But I love someone like Edmund de Waal, who his work, he's really loose. I love how that really impresses me.
Do you think you'll ever go back and revisit, or have you gone back and revisited any of them now that you have the technical? Be like, oh, I remember the idea, I'm going to go do that. Yeah,
I mean, some of the glazes I did in first year, the ones that were the teachers were kind of going, would you not want to? That looks a bit like I used to have a piece of lichen on a branch on my thing, and I had little yellows and I had greens in it, and I got a glaze that was that color. I mean, it took me a while to find it, but I did it. But I remember them kind of going, but I think that's a great glaze. Yeah. And there were a couple of kind of very when I do my mark making, it's very spontaneous, so it comes at the end of a very long journey of making the form and and the mark comes almost at the very end, where you could basically ruin all the good work that you've done to that point. But that's kind of part of the.
Well, it is, isn't
I like
it?
that as well.
There's
sort of a bit of an edge. Yeah. But yeah, I did a bit of that. I remember that in first year, and that has actually been something that I still do. That is, I actually discovered a little technique that I don't know anybody else does. Not that I don't know all potters, but it's a technique that I do, and I haven't heard many people talk about it. So it's that was cool. I've kept that.
You kept that one. Kept that one. So you finished the course post-COVID, what, 2022 maybe?
Oh no, I think it was 2020.
2020.
If I went in 20, I have to do this every time I go, and I went in 18. That was
there's like a weird 2-year gap that the world lost, right?
18 to 19, 19 to 20. Yeah, 20. End of 20, I finished.
Right.
And then I came back, and I was lucky enough to get onto Craft Scotland's Emerging Maker program, which was a lifeline because I came back to no studio, to lockdown, and I was able to kind of, and I had COVID actually. I came back with COVID. And I was able to interact with, I think it was about 6 of us on this makers group, where we were kind of again guided about setting up a business, working in Scotland, how to do various things. And there was a lovely residency at Hospital Field where we were we met each other, and
the community there,
it's lovely. Yeah, and I'm still in touch with some of them from that, and that was really valuable. Because Craft Scotland are, I mean, they're amazing. These kind of organisations, just in terms of the support that they offer to make.
And they were offering the set up as a business support, less than the.
It was anything you wanted, and actually, I think that allowed me to kind of, in my own mind, say, right, I actually don't want to have a shop. Because we talked earlier about like Instagram and social media. It's not where my talents lie. And I'm much more interested in working with galleries. And I think, I mean, we'll have open studio and I'll do Pot Fest. But the shop, with me, my personality, I was not able to deal with the whole kind of all that stuff, and the time.
You'd be great.
I'm okay in open
I'd pop
studio.
in for a coffee.
You can come to my studio, absolutely. But I mean, online shopping and all that stuff, I just couldn't deal with it. But I think the Craft Scotland gave us a bit of time to kind of have a think. Well, how do you see yourself going? And they were there to kind of advise, and you know, and some people were like, they were on it and going, well, maybe I'm not even ready for this. So, but I found it really good. It kind of made me sort of sharpened where I wanted, because I had the ability to go down the production pottery. I could have done the mugs, and I still have a few left over there. But I had this other stuff over here, and this other stuff gave me joy. And this other stuff was like playing in an Irish band on a Saturday afternoon.
Right.
You've already felt that, you know, you don't want to do that.
Don't want to do that. So, because I can go busking. I can, if I want to earn money, I can do that.
Yeah.
But I want to actually meaningful, like again, back to mortality. I want to be doing something with my life that it means something to me.
It's kind of nice that you discovered that pre-making. So you know that when you went into making, there's no love lost of the making, because you know that that's not the thing you want to do, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's not a means to an end. It's not. I mean, I teach. I mean, that's definitely a big part of my practice. I do. It's also a nice steady income. So you know, I do love that. I do love passing the knowledge on. But it's the making, like that's, you know, sitting down at the wheel for far too long, and then bringing a piece, working all the way through the sort of the life cycle of it, getting it onto that table just before I put it into the kiln, and then just doing those marks, and you know, that just gives you a high. It's great. It's just fantastic.
Such a great workshop as well.
Cold. None of us are we're not shivering
I'm
out.
not
You're beside
cold.
the radiator though.
I'm not cold. Guess what seat Jack picked? No, it's great.
Yeah.
And you moved out here specifically to do, so we're Blairgowrie, just north of Perth. You moved out here specifically to have space to do this, right?
Yeah. We were in Edinburgh, in a flat in Edinburgh, and it wasn't going to happen there. I think after coming back from Ireland and actually having a bit living rurally and just sort of actually going, no, my life did not end if I live in the country. So, I mean, the other thing about making, though, it is an isolated job. We were talking about earlier, you know, you spend a lot of time on your own. So, you know, actually, you're in the country, why not have a nice tree to look out at while you're doing it? And you get space, you know. That's just something you can't get in a city. Yep. So
not for a viable cost anyway.
Not for a viable. It's amazing, like being able to swap a flat in Edinburgh to a house in the country.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's wild. It's wild.
Bert, was it? I think it was Bert. I was listening to his podcast the other day actually. Bert the Potter was the second podcast we ever done. Ironically, a Potter as well.
Of course.
And he came on to pot. I'm sure it was him. He got onto pottery very early on. And was basically of the mindset like, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to make all my life choices to support this. I.e., we're not going to buy a big house in the middle of. He was just outside Cardiff, either Cardiff or Swansea, one of them. I'm not going to buy a big house in the middle of the city centre. We'll move just a little bit out into a cheaper house because it allows me to be a potter.
You have the space.
Yeah, all those decisions that I think when people decide on what they want to do early on.
That must be amazing.
There's so much mileage in it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So much mileage
to know
in
that
it.
early on, you've got that little heads.
I can't imagine, but I can't imagine knowing that early on.
No.
Like, so.
Well, there's also the other argument where you just wouldn't have. If you tried to force it early on. I think you just need to find it when you find it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because if you tried to force it early on, it wouldn't be what it is.
I think everybody's so different as well.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
you know, because, I would have loved to have done art, like, you know, would have loved to have gone and done an art degree back in the day, but it was just was not considered viable. And maybe I wouldn't have loved it as much, you know, who knows what would have happened.
You could have ended up in the same,
I could have gone back to music.
Or you could have ended up in the same position with art as you did with music, where you hated it and done
you do something
else.
I think it's an interesting dilemma. I've definitely had that kind of circuitous route. But you know, it's in a way it also makes you kind of grab it then when you realise, wow, this is what I want to do, or when it gives you such joy. That's amazing. Like that does give you a new perspective on life, I think.
So what about anyone else because I think with making becoming so popular, and it's definitely on the rise, I think there maybe is a lot of people that want to force it. I think that's safe to say. They want to become a maker. But your story is you've definitely not forced it, you've found it.
I think so. I think it was, and it took a long time. That's the other thing. Like, I mean, there were 6 years in Edinburgh doing pottery classes before I kind of reached out to someone like Florian Gadsby and thought, I was considering at that stage going back to university and doing maybe a master's or doing something in ceramics. So I wanted the expertise, but I mean, there was 6 years of fecking around, kind of like, you know. But when I get students in the door, like every time I'm teaching, and then, you know, you just see people go, I want to do this, I want to do a really big pot, and you kind of go, well, that's quite hard. So I think that's something maybe that isn't portrayed in the sort of the very swish Instagram posts of people lifestyles, where it just looks amazing, but actually it's graft. And it's not for everyone. I mean, you know, you've no fingernails. You're working in a cold environment. It's really hard work, and I mean, I want that. Yeah. But it's hard work, and I think that's what I tell my students. Like, it's really hard work, and I'm so glad for Thomastown, like, because it literally is that, right? It is hard work, and you're gonna learn, and you're gonna just repeat. It's like anything, you know. You want to be a dancer, want to be a musician, you know, you have to.
You got to train for it.
You've got to train for it, and it's not quick. You know, I'm still learning. As I said, I'm only at the beginning of my maker career, I suppose. And I have a lot of knowledge, but I also know what I don't know. I know there's people out there that have been doing this for 20 years and they know their stuff, and there's an awful lot involved with it. And it's not easy. I mean, you can buy a shop bought glaze. if you want that particular colour blue.
Yep.
But I prefer to know how it was made, and I prefer to know it's Jennifer's blue, not
Yeah.
whatever
Someone else's,
Can't be replicated.
brand number 75 blue. I would want that. I also think the satisfaction you gain from doing something hard. Again, not everybody. Everybody's different. We're all different, but I think
Patience as well.
it is.
A
Yeah,
lot of patience.
Yeah.
I imagine.
it's a lot. Yeah, because like it's not quick either.
No.
Like the life cycle of a pot as well, from throwing it, turning it, waiting for it to dry, bringing it into the kitchen to dry, taking it back out, glazing it, firing it. I missed out another fire. There's another fire in there as well. and then you take it out at the end, and then you go, that wasn't the colour blue it was after, or like, oh, that's a horrible colour. Where did that come from? Or you mixed it. I have a couple of pots in the kitchen that I put flour in now, but they were supposed to be blue, and they're kind of a horrible olivey colour. But there's nothing wrong with them. But God, I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
But you didn't find that out until whatever, 4 or
it's not
5
quite
steps
colour
down
change,
the
is
road.
it?
No.
It's not like
No.
you look at graphic designers on the PC, and of course, absolutely no detriment to that, but they can change graphics all very quickly, like immediate.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of this stuff, certainly pottery with drying time, but a lot of crafts in general, like if it doesn't work, you don't find out straight away.
Like Ara Textiles, she's like, she could do this whole thing. It's not until you turn it around.
Oh
you're like,
man,
that
gives me anxiety.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
like having trust that what you're doing is right,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
the last minute you see it and you're like, oh, thank goodness.
I know. No, that is. Yeah, I remember doing something. It was before Potfest 2 years ago, and I was trying something new. And I one of the things of living around here, I actually started incorporating wild clay. Well, wild clay. It's not wild. It's not running around wild.
Yeah.
It's local forage clay. I started bringing that into my surfaces because I kind of liked I mean, it's a bit literal, isn't it? Like, I like the landscape. I'm going to put some landscape onto my pot. But I was trying something with it, and I only, because I had the Potfest I think it was 1 kiln away from it, and I had all this work, and as I said, this thing I do is at the last stage of the pot of the whole process. So you literally do it before you put it in for its final firing, and then out it comes, and that's your stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had whatever, say
You've got
30
no
pieces that were about to go to Potfest, and I was like, I tried it. I'd only done it on little test tiles. And so I tried it out on 1 or 2 pieces, and I took them along. And then this potter who I worship, called Patricia Schoen, she's based out in Skye, but she makes the most. Again, I saw her work probably, again, over 10 years ago, and I remember just sort of going, what is that? And just going, getting like those sort of feelings about it.
Yeah, right.
With certain ceramics, you just kind of want to go,
Yeah.
But anyway, she bought this piece, which was like, oh my God.
She likes
it's only
it that
a little
much.
piece.
Yeah.
But I was like, I remember writing her like fangirl going, thank you so much for buying my piece.
That's cool though. Like that's
Yeah.
quite a big step in time on your maker's journey, that someone you've looked up to
Absolutely.
for so long like appreciates your work as well.
I know. And that she picked the one, as I said, there were only 2 pieces on the whole stall that had the thing I was doing, the mark that I was trying out. And she picked one of them, and I was just like, oh God. And actually then I really went for it then. After Potfest, I really went for it after that.
With a continuation of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it's that, because you can ruin it. I'm really into kind of recycling, and I say to all my students, don't put anything in the kiln that you wouldn't want to have around your house. Because again, I think so many people are not really thinking about the impact on the environment as well, like, just churning out loads of stuff. And where does it go then? The poor charity shops are inundated with really bad pots. So I didn't want to risk losing an entire thing to it, but it gave me that kind of confidence, and I went, right now, so I've gone for it, and it actually has built, and I'm doing what I want. I'm making the marks I want to make. The other one was a bit safe.
Yeah.
And so this is like,
it's a wee bit riskier.
it was a bit riskier, but that's what I like. I like the bit of risk.
Gotta have a bit of risk in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bit of,
Yeah, will it work? do you think that's when you become a potter? when you're comfortable in taking the risk. It feels like a few times you've mentioned like really key points in time that have built your confidence as a potter. And now is at the point where it's like, I absolutely am a potter because I'm confident enough to take the risks. I'm confident enough to do X, Y, Z to make it happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely as a creative, as a maker, those are the things that give me meaning. I think I have confidence in my skills. Yeah. So I think I'm braver than I was. But yeah, it's those kind of taking a leap and going with it. As I said, getting this flow or just going with it and trying something. And having the confidence to know that it will come through. I mean, it's confidence that comes at the end of a lot of testing. So, when I found the wild clay, I tested it to death, checking it, how it worked, how it fired, what was in it, processing it. There's long months of testing. And that's not for everybody because it's not very instantaneous, is it? It's a long game kind of thing. And I said I would go through phases of sort of months of testing. And I was doing a residency last year, which gave me that freedom, again, financially, as well as just the time and the space where I wasn't having to work to make something. Okay. I just got to play and try and test and test and test. And okay, some of those pieces are now being made. They're now going to go into the galleries and they're going to go into Potfest. And then other pieces are just in the back of my head and I'll have them in a box and I'll come back to them, but it's that kind of, you just being able to kind of test the materials and then know what the materials are going to do. I think that's really key. Amazing.
It's a bit of an unspoken reality of being a maker, isn't it? The testing. Because we all see the really cool bit, the actual result. Making of it, and then the really nice end result. Mm-hmm. The testing's not really that sexy, is it?
It's very unsexy.
You look at
time consuming.
You look at I don't know, like building a car, for example. There's a really good article wrote about the Cybertruck, and Elon Musk was on a podcast talking about manufacture. It's like we all find design really sexy, we all find finished product really sexy, and the usability of it, and it's this big fast truck and it looks like it's out of Tron. Manufacture is like our version of what we're talking about testing right now. Yeah. That's the unsung hero, because that's the really, really difficult bit that doesn't look cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
The soap making's the same. We had a weekend off and just made some soap, and you're like, this is like, there's so much testing to make anything good that no one's talking about.
Yes, that is it. The testing is, as I said, I mean, I quite enjoy that bit, because you really do kind of, you go,
that's where you learn. And
I want that colour, or how am I going to get it? And I was talking to a friend recently, another potter, and just the way they went about it was slightly different to me. They kind of wanted to learn, I suppose, all the information maybe first, or this is what this can do, this is what this can do. Whereas I would prefer to kind of get in there and then put two things together and see what that does, because that sticks in my brain. Yeah. Whereas I maybe sitting down on a book, and I remember first year at Thomastown trying to learn it from a book, and it was not coming to me.
By doing you learn, I think.
Absolutely. And I will remember a glaze, like I weirdly remember somebody's glaze. Oh yeah, I really liked that glaze where you combine those two, and they would go like, it was like 5 years ago. Why would you? But the colours are, I suppose if you're visual, maybe that's how you remember things like that. But the testing bit, I mean, it's great. And it was really great having the freedom to fail, because I think that's something that I continually tell students, like when they're wanting to get better at throwing. I just reiterate what I was taught. It's that kind of learning not to be precious. And also, I mean, with the testing of materials, I mean, you put so much into it. You've spent so long making your test tiles and then putting all your glazes together, and you've got your 20 versions of the same glaze but with slight different nuanced colours, and then you open the kiln and it's like it all just looks a little bit, can't curse, but it's awful, and you're or it was under fired, or it was over fired, or I need to tweak my cones, I need to make it go a little bit higher, or I feel like that's just it's a bit cool or something. It could be, oh my God.
Yeah.
And how do you narrow down which one it is that went wrong?
Well, there you go. That's the thing.
That's a real talent.
Yeah, no, that's
like, something went wrong. Oh, but I was testing 5 things. Like, what went wrong?
That's where the kind of the training comes in. So we were taught. I mean, the books you can get about this stuff. We were taught a methodology where you basically have it's very structured. You have maybe 10 things, all maybe the same base, and you will play around with little elements on top inside that base. And if I'm talking another language, please tell me to stop. And basically you'll take that information out and you can see it visually, all the different changes, all the nuance. And then you will go maybe down, I like those 3, but they're not quite there yet. So you widen them out again. You have got an engineering background, don't you? Yeah. I don't know what your background is.
Furniture.
I'm a maker too.
You're a maker, right? Cool. Well, you know this.
Yeah.
But then you kind of, so you had little 3 in the middle, and then you go out wide with that again, and then again you might go in. It's for the obsessed, slightly deranged person in the world who does this, but that's what you do. And then you can get to that. But when it comes to, but you have got, as you say, you've got different things that could be. So is it the glaze? Is it the clay? Is it the application? Is it the making? Is it the firing? So what heat is it? I mean, I only work with electric now. I do a bit of pit firing, but mostly electric. Right. But I try to get, I fell in love with those kind of wood-fired effects. And I went, oh, they're beautiful. How on earth am I going to be able to get that effect in an electric kiln? So that's taken me quite a long time to kind of figure that out, because I'd love to do wood firing, but it's a lifestyle, and you see people on Instagram who are wood firers. Very close friend of mine, that's her thing. And
why did you not go down the wood firing it? I know you say it's a lifestyle.
We need to build a kiln.
Such a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a group of people who do wood firing, which I should probably contact them, but it's a lifestyle, I say. And
does that then take away from actually making the pots?
I think it's a lot of commitment. Well, I don't know whether people who do wood firing would say that. I just for me and my kind of life, it's just not feasible. Yeah. But if you invited me to your wood firing, I would go.
So
and I would bring lots of pots. Anybody watching, and you've got a wood fire and you want a friend, I'll come and help. But it's the effects you can get from that are so beautiful, extraordinary.
Yeah.
But there's something important about what you've just said there, though, as well, isn't it? It's like you could chase that beautiful effect with wood firing, but it then becomes so all-consuming you can't do all the other stuff because as a potter, as a maker, as an artist, as a craft person, you're everything. It's like we talked about earlier with social media marketing.
There's only so many hours. Absolutely, yeah. I had to I did make some calls I did that around materials as well. When I was in Ireland, I got to try out a lot of materials. And so I also have narrowed it down to a number of materials. Cool. So I work within, that's my confine, and I can get pretty much what I want. And I know if I want a specific effect, I know where to go for it. Right. But it's not part of my my group of your materials. Base, my base, exactly. So I'm very happy with how things look in the electric. And I said there's an eco element to that as well. It's a little bit cleaner. So I'm happy with that as well. I'm kind of sticking with that for now.
I think in all crafts it'd be very easy to spread yourself too thin, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's really where this, and as I say, it's when you applied for the podcasting thing on the website, it was one of the things that really stuck out to me is that you'd been to that school as well, because it seems that school just gives you everything, and then much like you'd actually just described with your bases and then you narrow in, gives you everything, narrow in, right? You're narrowed into that, so that's actually this wide. Yes. Let's narrow in again. Oh, by the way, this really tiny thing's actually this wide. Let's narrow in again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I loved about the Norway University that we went to. Like, as a student, their universities gives you access to all materials, glass, metal, pottery, like everything. So you can decide, try it all, and then decide what kind of where you want to go.
Well, that's where you really found
your
furniture
skills.
making,
yeah.
wasn't it?
And it's amazing, like just be given the chance to try it all and then see where you want to go. I didn't have that here, did we?
So the background of that is start of third year, end of third year.
Yeah.
University, Kate and I both done product design, both very different but in the same class. We got offered to go to Norway for 6 months, and we chose Norway because it had big workshops. We were at a point where we were actually really fed up with the theoretical product design, and it was either like,
we wanted to do something.
it was either like jack the course in or go and do something hands-on.
Yeah.
And we got the option to go and do hands-on. So you had 2 workshops parallel to each other, massive. One was wood, which you spent all your time in. One was a metal workshop and blacksmithing shop, which I spent all my time in. And it was, but they encouraged you to try everything in the workshop.
Sign a piece of paper, like if you cut your hand off, well, that's your responsibility.
And when you say a piece of paper, it was a little bit bigger than a business card.
Wow.
And it was like, and it was literally that. It was Norwegian on one side, English on the other side. It was like, we've provided all this stuff. If you kill yourself, it's your fault. Yep. That's no problem. There you go. Like stuff you couldn't do here, right? And probably, I do wonder about the, you talk about Edinburgh, it was Edinburgh College of Art that took away. They cut their pottery stuff, didn't they? And it's like, how much has been lost because of that? Because we specifically sought out a university that had that. That was thousands of miles away in a different country to go there for 6 months.
Well, I mean, I moved back
And
to
you've done
Ireland.
exactly the same.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's just, but it is, there's definitely the whole kind of health and safety.
Yeah.
Which is very important. And I am the health and safety police. And when I teach pottery, I'm all about the kind of, let's be careful about dust, and all that stuff. But likewise in Ireland, I mean, I don't even remember there being a thing to sign, but it was very hands-on.
Yeah.
And we were, because we didn't pay fees. That was the other thing about it. It was you picked, the 12 people were selected, and it was a free course for 2 years.
Nice.
All your materials included, everything. And but you had to lend a hand, like, so we cleaned the studio every Friday. We all did. We were the cleaners. Hold on a second now, because it was an old mill, and the gardening needs done today. Right, down tools. We're all out cleaning the garden. I think previous students had built things. They'd actually built outdoor prefabs for kilns, built kilns. So there was none of this kind of, you're the students, and we'll just kind of coddle you and
it sounds like the opposite.
No, it was you're the student. You're working here basically. It was almost, I suppose, like apprentices. And that's the only other way you would do it. I think if you apprentice to a potter, that's the only way you would learn. Because you have to basically just completely immerse yourself in something, and it's really, a lot of it's hard work, a lot of it's grunt work. I mean, pugging clay, wedging clay, all these things. But people come to when I teach, and they come and there's like clay already made, and the studio's all there for them, and it's all very lovely. But I mean, they're only there for 3 hours, so that's what it's going to have to be, or else they'd spend all the time, just 3 hours just getting the place clean or afterwards. But I do try to bring in like the kind of the wedging and the making sure that they're kind of aware that it's not just pixies that come in after you and fix everything.
It's not the here's one I made earlier.
It's not here one I made earlier. Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of had that experience where you got in, and but it was pretty cool.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. I remember changing blades on a plane for the first time.
So I don't like
because,
metal.
on the big wood plane, because I'd said it was guy Mikael Omlid, I think his name was, and I was like, something's up with this. I'm pretty mechanically minded. Something's up with this. I think it just needs new blades. He was like, all right,
on you go,
crack on.
Oh God.
And it was great because what they'd done for the health and safety is the tools that you needed to do it, I specifically remember it, the tools were cable tied to the plug. So you had to take the plug out the wall.
Oh, I like it. Very
it's a
clever.
great idea,
very
right?
Clever,
so I was
clever,
like, they've just thought about what's the system that they don't have to rummage for tools, they don't lose tools, and they don't do it while it's on.
And don't lose their fingers, yeah.
And it was great.
But that's very methodical. They've done that a lot of times.
Someone's lost their fingers at some point. And they're like, oh shit, what do you think? Something. But it was stuff like that. It really made us think about what we're doing and how we're doing it. and all the steps to allow you to do it. Because it's, and in making and in craft and art, and it's not just doing the thing. It's, and what we're trying to really convey with telling maker stories is like, someone sees your pot, it's beautiful, it's great, want it. It's all the stuff before it that's got that pot to where it is. And that's really what our big mission is. But that kind of translates into everything, from changing the blade on a plane to deciding what bases you're using. So there's
making a tool, you know, I mean, the way you described that, we had a technician called Klaus, and he would be the guy, I think maybe in first year there was some hand holding, like, I'll show you how to use I really don't like machines, so, you know, headphones on, glasses on, but we would have been using these machines to make our own tools. I mean, that was something we were also taught, was like, you know, how you got a credit card, use a credit card. You've got an old credit card, turn it into a tool. And that there was a little bit of the kind of like, you know, better drowned than duffers kind of on you go. You know, if you lose a finger, that's a bit stupid, isn't it? And you'd be like embarrassed. You wouldn't want to tell them you'd lost a finger. You'd be like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Just bleeding here.
I don't want them to know. But I think I think that's the frustration as well some makers feel, is when people pick up a cup and they go, £25.
I think it's the biggest.
And you're just like, oh, you have no idea, like, you know.
I did that with my furniture as well. They're like, oh, where did you buy it? Where did you import that from? I was like, literally says handmade by Kate.
Well, massive picture of you making it.
Don't know how obvious. Really? Like, you're just.
That's so sad.
That's kind of like why this came about as well. It's just like to educate people.
We are makers.
Yes, it's like, you know, trying to just educate those.
It's that detachment, though, isn't it? We talk about it often. Like, the ultimate goal for all of this is to build a bridge from consumer to maker that bridges over that gap of detachment, because like we're all like, oh, this is a cool thing. Nobody thinks, oh, this is a cool thing. How did they make that? Like, we all do.
Yes, we look at it. You go to dinner with a potter. Everybody's got the pots upside down and they're looking at the bases, you know. Whereas
I do that everywhere I go.
You're probably like checking the chair.
I was looking at your big mug with the flowers in it. Not mug, sorry, the big
the jug on the table,
with the flowers in it in there, and I was like, that's someone's fingerprint. The top of the handle's got like two
where
fingers.
They pressed it down. Absolutely.
How cool is that?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I do have students who come in and say, I want it to look really pristine, like nobody. I just say, I want it to look like my fingers. There was a human there, like so. But again, that's a design choice.
Aesthetic,
it absolutely. Some people want that look. But yeah, I think people don't have any idea. People do, obviously. Like, I think other makers, we're all out there buying from other makers, because we respect the kind of the time it takes and the effort and the years it takes to learn how to do it. Yeah, it would be nice to kind of have people realise that. I mean, a lot of people do, which is lovely. You know, you get people coming back and saying, I want another one of your pieces. That's great.
You sell your mug with like a USB stick that's got 8 hours of footage of just you making mugs.
That's the blue. That is you're getting the these are the rejects, or the glaze didn't work quite right on that, but that was the blue glaze.
But like, I wouldn't know that because it looks lovely.
Oh, there's a little white mark there. You see. But our kitchen is filled with all my rejects, and the dog bowls are like old pots that didn't make it.
Perfect.
So,
that's cool.
All around the house, you've got all these kind of like slightly wonky looking things, or I'd go, no, it's not the right blue. It just wasn't right. So
So do you sell through galleries? Is that all you do?
Galleries, commissions, exhibitions. So things like Potfest coming up. I'll be doing Open Studio, Strathmore Open Studios in the end of May. Nice. So I've got the bump. I'll give you one of the leaflets. We've just got that.
Send it.
And so I'm going to also be doing the Pit and Ween Art Festival in August. So that's me.
So I'm always interested to know, because makers like, how do I sell my stuff? Because if I can't do social media, how else do I do it? I have a website, but sometimes you just need to network. You need to reach out to people. Is that what you do?
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely reaching out, and also, I mean, I've been lucky in having a few sort of things, you know, promoted through, or
of course,
or it's been seen on Craft Scotland, or
getting your name out there,
getting your name, doing things like the residency, and then people see that. And again, I mean, social media is what we all use. This is it. Like, people they're never going to find me here.
No.
So I have to do that that is part of the job. And as I said, I teach, and I'm down in Edinburgh, and I'm kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of hard work of applications. I actually felt my side there, like I wanted to, like that pain.
Pain of writing out more applications.
And grant applications, and applying for things. So yeah, again, it's not just this is the fun bit, but there's an awful lot of in the background,
no one ever
sitting at the
sees,
laptop, doing stuff. But that's part of it. I mean, maybe there are some millionaire potters, but I don't know any of them.
No.
So it's not that you don't go into this for the money, and you have to love it, I think, as well, because it's a lot of graft.
Yeah.
So having worked in an office before, I know I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm happy not to have a holiday. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll be happy with that.
business.
It's a lifestyle choice.
I think there's something to be said about that. Engineering background, rabbit holes, you'll totally get it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fascinated by the business side of it. And actually, I was going to write a newsletter about this morning. I read a really good book called $1 Million Weekend, and what put me off of writing the newsletter about it is the cover, because it's $1 Million Weekend. And it wasn't the $1 Million Weekend, because people can see past that, but the paragraph, how to build a 7-figure business in 48 hours. And I was like, we're not all here to build a... Now, there's some great stuff in that that's super applicable. And I was going to say dumb it down, but it's definitely not dumb it down. I may cherry pick from it and write a newsletter on it, or put it somewhere on our website for people to read, because I think there's some great stuff in it. But everything in the business world at the moment is about 7 figures this, or 8 figures this. And I'm like, we don't want to make that. We want to pay our mortgage, pay some flights, and go and see cool people. Like that is...
They're missing the point. That's not what life is about. It's like people going, young kids being asked, what do you want to do? I want to be famous. You're going, well, famous for what? Like,
You need
really
a purpose.
odd.
You need a purpose.
Absolutely.
You need a purpose to drive what you're doing, because otherwise, what's the point?
It'd be
You've got
nice
all
to
this
make some money. It'd
Aye,
be lovely, but that
Yeah.
would be the output of doing something that you like, as opposed
But
to...
seven figures like doesn't attract. Like, don't get me wrong, if someone's watching this being like, "I'll give you
yeah.
7 figures," like,
Well, I've got
let's test
30
your
pots.
let's test your theory. Would you not like
Yeah.
to? No, I would love it. It'd be
I
great.
would, yeah.
But I would do exactly what I'm doing now. I would
Yeah.
just do more of it.
They would just
and I'd
allow
pay
you
someone to do the
to-
admin.
Or the marketing.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yes.
And there's like, this is 100% a business. Like, all makers are businesses. You have to
I
be
hate
to
that
sell.
word. It feels awful.
It feels
Yeah.
awful, but it 100%
It's
is.
so important.
It is, yeah.
But it's not, I don't have a problem with the word, I have a problem with the connotation that the word has, that it should be multinational, it should be this, it should be 7 figures, it should be...
Yeah.
Some people just want to make nice things, sell nice things, live a comfortable enough life, and go and do stuff.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that. There's something really attractive about that, certainly for us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So what's next? We've got to the point where we're here.
We're here
Through
now.
this.
And do you know what? We
circuitous
didn't
route.
even start the podcast saying what is your name and who are
I
you.
know.
Oh my God! Will I say it? Introduce myself now?
Yeah.
Hi,
Well, this is
Who's Jennifer Alford?
I'm Jennifer Alford.
Yeah.
I'm an Irish artist from Ireland.
Yeah.
So next, well, I'm still early days, and I'm very happy with the trajectory I'm on at the moment. As I said, I'm really excited. This summer is going to be a lot of work, but this summer has got some really nice stuff ahead of me. And the new work I've been doing, the porcelain work, really excited about that. That's kind of like giving me that kind of buzz that I got when I made that piece for the museum. It's that kind of, I guess, like slightly breathless sort of thinking about it. Weird. Sorry. Cut that. That's all. Next, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and I would like to be selling more. I'd like to be in more galleries, but I'm hoping that, again, hopefully it's a little snowball kind of thing. You just get one, you get a couple,
It will be.
and then more people see your work, and then more people.
Yeah.
That's hopefully how it'll happen. But it's a bit of a slog, but you know.
Yeah.
But I'm at
worth
a
it.
comfortable level just now where I'm again, you know, this is not the lifestyle of somebody who, as I said, likes getting their hair done, or likes getting their nails done, or likes getting new clothes or stuff. But I'm very happy because I don't really need all that stuff. You know.
But you do need this.
I need that. I need to be able to buy bags of clay.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's nice.
I'm happy with that.
It is nice. It is really nice.
Yes.
So where do people find out? Oh, you got the finished question. I was going to wrap up, but you got a question first.
Yeah, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh, I think I'd love to have been to know that things would work out, because like, you know, I was doing something that not necessarily, you know, maybe follow your heart a bit, but I also think there's no right way. I think that's probably I'm sorry, I've become very inarticulate. I think
it's a hard question.
It is a hard question. Yeah. I think because of the way I learnt music, I think I thought there was one way to do it. It's like I would ask my violin teacher, right, how are you doing that vibrato? And he would just go, I'm just doing it this way. And you'd go, well, that's not really answering it. But I thought if I didn't do it exactly that way, then I was wrong.
Okay.
And so I think then again, because I didn't go to art college at the right time, I could never be an artist. So that's knowing that actually whatever you do in life is actually will take you there. If that's where you want to go, you can go there. And also, I think because I would have been very sad at times in my life, not knowing, not realizing that I was, this is it, you know, am I going to be working in an office now? Is this my life? And just feeling that frustration. I think just knowing that actually, you know, if you said say yes to things, like say yes to things and take a chance, and that big risk of going back to Thomastown, I really my younger self wouldn't have dared do that. I would have been so frightened of doing that. And I said, whatever happened in my life, and I actually had whatever the circumstances where I went, feck it, I'm going to try it. But I would have loved me a bit younger to go, I'm going to try that. I'll try that a bit, you know, just try it.
But
might not get you there, but you might take you there, and then you'll get there afterwards. So
yeah,
you never know.
Get from A to B is
it's
very rare in this space.
Being tunnel vision, just go.
And all the things you've learned, they all do come together, don't they?
They come back, yeah. So it's all in there.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Where do people find out about you? Do the plug bit.
Plug bit, right. So Jennifer Alford Ceramics on Instagram, and I've got jenniferalford.co.uk is my website. And yeah, I think those are the two places. If you drop me an email or send me a message through Instagram if you're interested in picking up some of my work.
Yeah.
And you also teach as well.
I teach at Edinburgh Ceramic Workshop, and I will be at Potfest in, I don't want to say it wrong, Scone Palace,
Scone,
not Stone.
Scone Palace.
It's not Irish.
Scone
in Perth at the beginning of June.
Nice.
And I'll have an open studio here at the end of May. I'm open on Saturday and Sunday. So Strathmore Open Studios, I'll be here. You can come into hopefully it won't be cold.
It's not been that cold today.
I
mean, as we determined,
you are sitting beside the radiator.
A good spot, but it's been pretty good.
It's been lovely, actually. Yeah, I'm amazed.
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. I know you were.
You made it so much easier than it was. I was so anxious about it.
Yeah.
No, you're really lovely.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm glad it was. You know, it is, speaking in front of a camera is not easy.
There's a couple we've done of late that, because I used to always start with the question, who is? And there's a couple we've done of late where I've not started that way, and it's usually because you know that would cool the conversation.
Yes, that's
and
interesting.
then I get into the conversation, and then Kate's like, we actually need to ask who this person is.
Yeah.
So we'll need to record an intro later and like dump that bit at the start.
Okay.
But that's fine.
Every podcast you listen to, there's always an intro with music and all the rest of it, and like we've never done that. Sometimes you just need to know your audience. Not everybody needs to have that whole intro. Some people just want to listen to the conversation. It's natural. It doesn't need to be edited.
Yeah.
And you always think, oh, maybe we should do that, but. Do you know what? It doesn't have to be like every other podcast.
Well, it's working, so you know.
Exactly. So.
Don't, if it ain't broke.
Don't need to fix it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, you made that really easy.
Amazing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's as we said at the start, our job's to make it easy. So if you said it was really difficult, I'll be like,
no. I just hope I didn't just witter. That's the
it was really good.
So,
it's really good.
It's absolutely fab.
Amazing.
Wrap it.
Cool.
We'll press this.